How's it going, guys? Matt here from MTG Ownage. I'm going to be reacting to MTG Goldfish Commander's dual tier list. Uh, dual land tier list. So they're going to have their rankings, and I'm just going to throw mine in there, and I'm going to go through them quickly. This is an hour and 42 minutes. I'm going to make this as short and concise as possible for the sake of your time. I'll put myself up here, and maybe leave a few opinions. So, all right, let's just get into it here. I'm just going to skip forward. Obviously, they have classic dual lands at an S. Of course, they're an S. This is a no-brainer, but good luck getting them. And then next up, we have the uh, Shocklands. Yeah, I would say these are an S too. There might be a case for them being an S minus. I mean, they're not as good as the original dual lands. They're just not. All right. So how do you give them the same rank? I don't know, but they are kind of just as good. Yeah, they're fine. You can fetch them up. The big case for a lot of these island, the ones with types, is you can fetch them up somehow with things that say grab that or they count as that. But sometimes that's a downside. If someone has a carpet of flowers on the other side of the board, being an island is actually a downside. So I think this needs to be an S minus if they allow minuses because it's just not as good as the original dual lands. All right, so let's move to the next one here. Let's see. They've got Fetchlance. Well, these are obviously an S2. You can just, they're the best fixins. And yeah, it doesn't say basic, so you can search up duels, you can search up anything. So they're just super good. There's no doubt about it. These belong in the S as well, right along with Volcanic Island and all that. But it is notable that the fetch lands are definitely better if you're searching up duels and triomes. If you've got only basics in your deck, then fetches aren't that great. Some people will try to say they're great for thinning. That's probably relevant in tournament play a tiny bit, but the percentage different that it changes your deck and then having to shuffle again is not that big of a deal in Commander. They're great if you. They're also really good if you have something like Brainstorm or a Sylvan Library or stuff where you're putting stuff back on top that you want to shuffle away because you don't need them. So that's also pretty good. And they also said, yeah, if you're running stuff that can bring lands back, like Rings of Bright Earth can double trigger. You sack it, you pay two, get the trigger again. Yeah, that's always cool. But yeah, there's stuff that gets lands back, and if you have things that let you replay lands, it's really good. There's a ton of things like that. But I guess yeah, they mentioned downside opposition agent will shut it off. There's a few other things. There's that big demon that doesn't let you search, or you pay 10 life when you search. So the little downside to these, but usually you can sit with it and play. And if someone's gonna do something, you can respond and fetch your land. It's just if they respond with an opposition agent, it kind of hurts. But let's see here. What do they got next? Let's continue on. The Battlebond Lance. They got some S's and A's. I don't know, man. I really like these. Yeah, I think they're just a solid S or S minus. I'd say S minus between an S and an A. There's no real downside to these in Commander, unless you're down to the last person. But at that point, you probably have enough lands anyway. So yeah, these are just kind of a no-brainer. They always come in untapped. If you're playing 1v1 Commander, these are terrible. They're very annoying if you're in 1v1 Commander. So I don't know if that should affect the ranking or not. So we'll say S minus A. I think the rating's probably about right on that. Let's go to the next one. The triomes. If you've got the 3 colors or 5 color decks, these are the thing about these is these are work really well with the fetch lands in many colored decks. So yeah, I agree with this ranking. I don't think you can give it a full S. Well, I don't know. They also just have cycling on them as yet an additional bonus, but them coming into play tapped all the time. The only land that really beats this is like what Command Tower. I don't. Those aren't dual lands. This is a tri land. Wait, this doesn't belong on the list. The video is literally called Dual Land Tier List. This is not a dual land. This is a tri land. Let's skip it. We're not going to review that. That's a tri land. All right, guys. What do you? Huh? You guys not know the definition of dual? Okay, I'm confused. All right, now these ones. Um, yeah, they come into play tap unless you control an island or a swamp or whatever the 2 different types that it is. They don't have the types, so you can't fetch them, but who cares? You have other ones to fetch anyways. These are great land drops, and they almost always come in untapped if your land base is sorted out, because you either having fetches or some kind of duel with a type or shocks or just one of the basics. Yeah, I'd say these get notably worse and the more colors you go into your deck, but in 2 or 3 colors, they're typically pretty good. And very rarely will you find them coming into play tap unless you play them turn one. And hopefully you're only doing that if you don't have a turn one play. So yeah, I would agree with the A on this. I don't think you can go quite to S or S minus, but A is pretty good. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's see what it got. They got oh, these new ones. These are really good. These are better than they seem. I think these are a solid S, honestly. They basically just always come in untapped. It doesn't seem like you read them, you think, yeah, you need 2 or more other lands. So yeah, your first 2 turns, you don't want to play these, or if you do, you play it on turn one when you're not doing anything anyway, or something like that, and that's fine. And that might be a rare case, but like I have noticed when playing these lands, they always feel really good. And the amount of times I've been watching someone play like some ranked modern and they have fast lands in their deck, and like on turn 3 or 4, they'll be like, oh, if only this land didn't come into play tap. I'm like, yeah, have you seen the new ones? They don't come into play tapped on turn 3 or 4 or later, which is quite good. So I think these are right up there with the Battlebond lands, honestly, where the Battlebond lands. They're, yeah, I think they're right up here. They're probably an S minus. These lands are they're just better than they seem. I mean, you always theorize in your head that they're not very good because fast lands are better or whatever, but they're really good. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right, these lands, the I don't know what you call them, but they have types, and you need 2 or more basic lands for them to come in untapped. But they have types, so you can fetch them up. In really greedy mana bases, these get a lot worse. Yeah, if you're running, jeez, I don't know. I personally don't like these lands. I'm trying to think of a time when this came in untapped for me, honestly, and I can't think of one. This almost always comes in tapped for me, but I run pretty greedy mana bases. You can't fetch them. I guess you could call it an A. It's debatable though, honestly. It's between an A and a B. I think they're about right here. Just uh these just always come into play tap. You play them as your third land. Nope, coming into play tap. Fourth land. Nope, still coming into play tap most likely. Fifth land. I don't know. For me, even as fifth land, these usually come into play tap. They're just always coming into play tapped until you're really late in the game. So now I'm going to drop it down to a B. They're pretty bad, honestly, in my opinion. But it depends on the deck. Now, someone mentioned that if you're running stuff like Cultivate and Kodama's Reach and things that grab you basics, these get a little better, but still, it's like you're not getting it untapped till you're like fifth or sixth land drop. Where with this one, you get it as early as turn two. On these ones, you get it as early as turn three. So and these ones are always like fifth, sixth, seventh until you finally get it on tap. So yeah, you can fetch them up, so that's nice. But even when you fetch them, they're usually coming into play tapped with no option to not. So they often just feel bad. All right, the next one they have is these cycling lands, or I guess they're called bicycle lands because they're bi and cycling. Interesting name. I think these are okay. These are just great for either as your first land drop, basically, or drawing late game. They're great because you're like, okay, let's cycle it away. These typically feel a lot better than you would think. I like these better than these ones. Man, I don't know what to call these. Yeah, I like them better because you can at least cycle and they still always come into play tapped and you can fetch them. So yeah, I think these are just almost directly better than this style of them. Jeez, I can't remember the name of them. I'm gonna have to edit it in here probably. All right. So what did we have next? They have these Karoo lands that bounce something. These have gotten better recently with all the modal double face cards. They do mention that. I think they're right about that. But these are still kind of annoying lands. They're highly targeted. If someone's got like a free bonus land destruction they're throwing in the mix, they always look at this and they're like, ah, get that one. But Yeah, they mentioned that these often get targeted with strip mine and wasteland and stuff like that, and that's typically a bad move. These are kind of card advantage though, because it doesn't really ramp you, but it gets you an additional land drop, and it's basically kind of like a land coming into play tapped. But yeah, if people are running a lot of land destruction, I wouldn't play these. But if they're not, then it's not a big deal. But honestly, like they mentioned in this, if people are strip mining or wastelanding this, they're gonna regret it because they're gonna need that strip mine or wasteland for an actual problem land. This isn't an actual problem land. It's just like a tiny ramp. It's just like a tiny ramp, tiny card advantage. It's like drawing one card and they're like shutting off their entire extra land for but if they have extra land destruction, that's when you should hit them, not as like a key target this person. So yeah, save them for the actual dangerous lands, the Maze of Iths and stuff. That's what people should be saving their strip mines for. So they mentioned that. So I think these are a little better. It's hard to like put them at an S. I can't believe Rich put them at an S. I guess he put them there because they can now bounce modal double face cards and turn it into a spell. Uh, so that's pretty good. So it's situational though. So in the right deck, definitely belongs. If you got modal double face, you should probably put these in. At least one, I think. These are you don't want to play them in 5 color though. These I love playing these in 2 color. I think they're pretty good. All right, so not bad. I guess I would give it probably a B, and I think B's playable, but it's like playable in the right deck. And A's like, yeah, you should probably include it. A B's like playable, but in the right deck. C's like never play. D's like, well, C, I guess C would be, I mean, play if you don't have something better. D would be like, I don't see why you're playing this, but it's fine, I guess. And F is like, just never play it. There's always something better. So, and S is just like, always include. So I don't think it's an always include. I don't think it's an S. I would call this a B. It belongs in the right deck. Let's see what else we got. But yeah, it is a little card advantage, so that's nice. It just slows you down. Okay, this one kind of blew my mind. I don't know what they're thinking here, honestly. This is weird. Richard Zoe one that has this right. This is an A or an S. Hands down. There's really no argument. All right? It comes in untapped. It fixes your mana. If you don't need it, you can still get mana out of it and not take damage. What's the problem here? Why would a D is never play, right? That's never play. Or why are you playing it? But okay, I guess it works. No, it's not in that tier at all. It is definitely not a D. It's an A or a B. You could. There's even a case that this is an S. It comes in untapped, always. You can do whatever you need to do and not worry about, oh, I've got that annoying coming into play tap land. You have that problem with a lot of the others. This one never ever has that problem. And in Commander, you have 40 life. This is an A or an S tier. Sure, you can't fetch it up, but you got other ones to fetch up. It's not that big of a deal. This is a great land drop. And yeah, most likely you're going to be tapping it for colorless when you can, but if you need the fixing, you got it, and it's nice. Oh yeah, I skipped over the Canopy Lance. Well, I don't know. What are you talking about? Why would you call this a B or a D? A D? Are you kidding me? I'm starting to wonder about Crib. Is he okay? You not feeling too great today? I don't know what's going on. Why? How could you call these a D? You really hate taking 1 damage that much? You got 40 life. You probably got life gain in your deck. It's not that big of a deal. It's worth it for the fixing. And these can sack to draw a card, which is better than you think because sometimes, well, typically you never do that. But if you've got something like Sylvain's Reclamation or something that's just going to allow you to get lands right back anyway, it's just a free draw sometimes, and sometimes it's nice. And late in the game, it's kind of like cycling. So it's like, yeah, it's really good. A lot of versatility. The 1 life is not that big of a deal. You're maybe going to take 3-4 damage from this most games, which isn't that big. I mean, most decks have some sort of life gain to make up for it anyway, and it's worse to get mana screwed than it is to take a couple damage, right? So I would call this an A, potentially even an S. I play these as often as I can. I don't play them in like 4 or 5 color really, but in 2 color definitely. And a deck with low CMC in general, definitely Now, decks with higher CMC top ends, these get a little bit worse, I think, because you basically have to tap them for mana every single turn, no matter what. But these are the ones you like hold up for your instance, right? You tap all your other lands, you save these in case you need them while people are taking their turns, in case you need swords to plowshares or something, right? This so you don't even always take damage. Sometimes you want to. So that's the point. I think. How could you call this a D? Krem, what is wrong with you? Take some Advil. Something's wrong. I don't get it. All right, let's move on. Um, these Tainted Lands. Yeah, these are situational. They're fine. I think they're okay. You do need a swamp, but hopefully you'll have that. I'd probably give these a B. Yeah, I think these are just a solid B. They're definitely good in the right decks. If you've got tons of swamps and ways to fetch up swamps, this is a great land drop that you're just going to hit. I'd maybe even move it up to an A. It's quite good. It's definitely not a D. Yeah, you don't play it in every deck. You gotta have heavy swamps. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, these Cascade. I don't know what these are called. Filter lands, I think. These are pretty good. Sometimes they can kind of hose you. They're really good in 2-color. I kind of like them in 3-color too. I'd give these a B. They're playable in the right deck for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'd give them a B. All right, next up we have these Strixhaven lands where you got to reveal an island or a mountain or whatever the type of colors it is. These are terrible, unfortunately. Yeah, I'd call them a D. Maybe a C. No, probably a D. These like you in theory they sound good. In theory you think that you can get them untapped a lot, but it doesn't happen as often as you think. Or when it does, it doesn't matter because it's like yeah, I think these are worse than they seem. They're probably between a C and a D. I wouldn't recommend playing them in general, but they're okay. They're at least fixins. I will say C. I'll give them a C. But I typically don't play them. Almost all the other lands are just better, and by that point, you've got enough good ones. Let's see. Do they have any other ones? So I think they're kind of right on this. Yeah, and that's it. That's my rankings. There's some other ones. There's the artifact lands that were in Modern Horizons 2. Um, I think those are really good in decks with affinity for artifacts and multiple colors. But coming into play tapped always is kind of annoying. All right, well that's the video. See you guys next time. Let me know what you think down below, and let me know if you guys think Krem and Seth are right on these. And I guess we can. Why? How do you give this a D? I don't get it. I don't get it.